What's up, bikers? Episode 215. Nailed the intro. Oh my God. 215 episodes in. Just got it. Anyways, today we have the channel RunBikeMike on, and obviously it's Mike. So, nonetheless, before we get started, I was just bragging about how I nailed the intro, but I forgot to share my screen here for those of you guys that are watching YouTube. So I'm gonna do that right now, and let's talk about a couple of things. So you guys know I've been talking about this EMTB fundraiser for a while now. If you have one of those subscriptions that you're like, I don't even understand why I'm paying for this, cancel that and then sign up for this and give us like $5 a month, and we're going to do good things with it. So we're trying to get veterans out and ride bikes, and a fleet of e-bikes will really help us. So we've got a little bit of money raised. We did the fundraiser up at Dirt Days again last weekend, so it's coming along, but we are not there yet. So if you want to help out, that'd be great. If you work at a company that gives donations to nonprofits or something like that, reach out. So hit up the website, d2rvets.com. You can make a donation there, or you can reach out to Casey, the founder of the nonprofit, and we'll go from there. I'm going to do this backwards today. Check this out. So also, Callie Protect has been a long-time supporter of the channel. Last weekend at Dirt Days, I had a bunch of people ask to try on my sunglasses, the Callie sunglasses, which are actually a really good deal for $80. You get 3 different lenses. Really, it's like a polarized lens, just a gray lens, and then a yellow. I told them we should get rid of the yellow, or they should get rid of the yellow and include a clear, but we'll see what happens. Anyways, it reminded me that, those are out there. It's really a steal at $80, and you can use the code B1Cali30, and you save 30% on top of that. So if you're looking for a new pair of goggles, I've tried their goggles as well. I do like their goggles. They have a larger nose piece, I guess you could call it, so it doesn't pinch your nose if you're a bigger guy. And yeah, anyways, use the code, save some money. Moving on, Tasco just came out with a new pair of gloves that has little magnets on it. They're called the Ridgeline, and there's a couple of things I really like about it. Aside from the magnet, it's kind of cool. It's like a little way to keep them together, or if you take your gloves off on the side of the trail, you can buy one of the Tasco stem caps and just snap your glove on there so you don't drop it, which always seems to happen to me. Anyways, they also have a little bit of a shorter cuff than the other ones do, which I personally like. And I think the thing that I like the most about these is they also have that kind of terry cloth thumb, so when you're wiping the sweat or the snot off your nose, you don't scratch yourself all up. So they also have some pretty cool designs with the new ones, as well as some of the mullet shirts that go along with it. So if you check out the mullet shirts, they have basically, it's like 2 shirts for the price of 1. So you can flip it in one way and have one color, flip it inside out and have some crazy pattern on the other side. So last but not least, I've been riding RE bikes for a while. I have the LaSalle, which is their 170 bike, and it's been a lot of fun to ride. But when I sold the gray one and I got the red and white one from RE, in person, I really liked it when I saw it at Sedona. And then every time I would look at it, I was just like, I'm personally not a huge fan of red, and I didn't want to get the teal one because it would be the same as my Temp. And I ended up sending this out to get painted. So I'm waiting for it to get back because I'm actually really excited about it. So if you're thinking about getting a 170 bike, this thing pedals really well. And it's been a lot of fun. I definitely put, I think, man, close to 2,000 miles on the last one. So it's definitely been a shit ton of riding that I've done on this bike, and it's been great. So it's the bike that got me to switch from Santa Cruz. So if you're a Santa Cruz lover and you're thinking about maybe you want to be able to put a 240 millimeter dropper in your bike, this is where you should start looking. Swing by rebikes.com, check it out. And that's enough of that. Let's bring Mike on and talk about bikes. What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Not bad, dude. Just another day in paradise, right?
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure, man. Where are you located at?
I am, everybody's familiar with Bentonville, that mountain bike. So I'm literally an hour and 15 minutes north of Bentonville, near Springfield, Missouri.
I thought you might have been in that area because I was watching some of your videos earlier today, and I was like, that looks like he's in Bentonville, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, yeah, I'm pretty close. It's basically the backyard, close enough that I can go
Yeah,
down
yeah.
there early in the morning and then go ride for a few hours and then get back by lunch. So quick trips
Right
are
on,
pretty
man.
nice to have it that close.
Are you doing YouTube like full time, or this is kind of like your side gig, or?
This is a side gig, kind of a full-time hobby, I guess.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Believe me, I know the
I'm a
feeling.
software developer by trade, and seems
Uh-huh.
like that's kind of like the industry trend. There's so many YouTube mountain bikers that are software developers and they get into mountain biking. So that's kind of how it started with me. I just, like to record videos and play around with software, and here
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah, it's funny how that is, honestly. Like a lot of IT guys, because I do IT as well. So it's like
Yeah,
either like programmers or like kind of IT types. For some reason, it seems like there's a lot of them in YouTube. So it's
for sure.
interesting how that happens, huh?
Yeah, yeah. It's I guess it's just the nature of like not being afraid to play around with computers and software and get in there and dabble with
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Of course, I love tech.
Yeah,
Like,
it makes sense.
I don't need to buy any of the new action cameras, but every time one comes out, I tell myself I'm not going to buy it, and then I wind up buying it just because I just love the tech. So
Yeah. I've done pretty good at holding off until I feel like there's a substantial upgrade. Like when I just recently switched over the Insta 360 cameras,
yeah,
but when I was using GoPro, it seemed like I would go a couple of versions before I would buy it. And they always
yeah,
it seemed like they released every year, so it was like really kind of nominal, but I
yeah,
don't know.
for sure.
What
Yeah, I've
cameras do
used
you use?
GoPro for years, and I always heard about people complaining about like having overheat issues and all that. I guess I got really lucky and didn't. And then at one point, I just got the urge to try the DJI Action 4, and I switched over to that
Mhm.
and instantly loved it. And then I bought the Action 5 Pro when it came out, and it's just kind of like it's a little bit more than an iterative step. It's pretty stinking good. I'm impressed with it. But I
Yeah.
also used a lot of Insta 360 cameras, and recently got the X5, and that thing is amazing. In
Yeah.
my opinion, they finally made a 360 camera that you can literally use for everything. Like they almost completely
Yeah.
perfected.
I feel like I need to try it. I've never really used a 360 camera, so it for some reason it feels daunting to me to have to figure out how to like
Yeah.
reframe to edit. I'm like, oh, I
Yeah.
don't want to deal with learning something else.
Yeah. And if you do like a lot of POV stuff, they do have a new chest strap that they designed specifically for the X5 that whenever you mount it in there, you only use that front lens. And so
Hmm.
it's it's quite a bit better as far as like you don't have that whole 360 footage to play with, but you can change your aspect ratios and you can kind of tilt the camera a little bit in post afterwards if you want, or you could just straight up just use the footage that comes out of it. And that's pretty
Yeah.
handy. I mean, and it's 4K. I also found that like on the X4, you could hook up a Bluetooth mic, but it was real spotty. And on the X5, it's like
Hmm.
they perfected it just like DJI has. So I think they
Yeah.
brought over a lot of their technology they had from what is it, the Ace 2, I think is the other one that they've got. I think they brought a lot
Yeah,
of that
that's the one I bought.
into the new one, into the 360 one. So yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah,
impressed with it.
I used GoPro for years, and I guess the first thing I bought that wasn't GoPro was I had one of the Osmos, and I loved that. And I
Yeah.
think that was, I was kind of intrigued by that just because it had the gimbal on it and everything.
Yep.
And honestly, I accidentally lost it and just could never pull the trigger on paying for it again. But I really like I miss that camera, honestly.
Yeah, I've got the Pocket 3, and it is not a cheap
That's the one I
camera.
was talking about. I'm sorry, the
Yeah,
Osmo Pocket. Yeah, yeah.
that camera is amazing, but it's like $700. It's an expensive
Yeah.
camera. I mean, you're not messing around when you buy that camera, in my opinion, because it's kind of an action camera, but kind of not an action camera, and it's
Yeah.
great for like recording bike stuff and still shots, and walking shots and things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It was so nice to use that way because you could see, you know, like frame yourself with the little thing that was on there. And
Yep.
like you said, like nice bike shots. And it was just so easy to carry around my pocket, but
Yeah.
also was the reason that I lost it because it like fell out of my pocket in a rental car when I was on a Sedona trip. And
Yeah.
like, that was it. It was gone, you know?
Yeah. It's so like thin that I could easily see how
Yeah.
that could fall out of your pocket and you wouldn't even know that it fell out of your pocket. Just
Yeah,
slide
and
out.
who knows? Maybe I set it down and I just like put it on the center console and forgot about it, and it like slid away or something. But yeah,
Yeah.
one way or another, she gone. So,
Yeah. I'm kind of
but
in that same boat right now, but with my Action 5, I went on a bike packing trip, came back, and I haven't like got all my camera gear sorted. And I was going through all of it today and I was like, where is my Action 5? So I have no idea where it's at. I may have left it at the campsite. I don't,
ugh,
I don't know. I'm hoping that I find it in the next couple of days, but I used my 360 camera pretty much exclusively on that trip. So I didn't even pull that camera out. So I don't know what I did with it. So hope I didn't lose it because that
yeah.
one's a good one.
Hopefully, it's sitting around the house somewhere. Sometimes I do that. Like the other day, I was freaking out. I thought I lost it, and it was like I just put it somewhere where I didn't normally put it. And I was like, oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny how a lot of people are, you know, not funny. I mean, it's kind of obvious that it's happening now that there's more competition, but a lot of people stepping away from GoPro. I think for me, it was like the, I bought the 13 when it came out. I thought it was a pretty good upgrade from the 11.
Yeah.
And I was pretty stoked about it when I was using it. And at the same time, they brought out the mini, which I really wanted something smaller that I could like mount on my helmet
Yeah.
and be able to, because now that you're not using a gimbal anymore, like when you stop and you talk to people, you have to like either readjust your camera or
Yep.
so I just wanted something easy that I could have on my helmet and just maybe turn on real quick. And I bought that 4K mini or whatever the hell they're calling it, and it was just garbage. It was
Really?
like the footage wasn't like stabilized unless you use their app to stabilize
Oh,
it,
yeah.
and
I
it
wouldn't
just
want
really
that.
messed up my workflow. Yeah, and I didn't feel like the quality was really all that good. In my mind, I was like, I might as well buy one of the 11 minis or whatever it was. At
Right.
that point, the Ace 2 had just came out, and everybody was
Mhm.
talking about how great it was with the sound. And then I went over to Insta's site, and I saw they had that little baby one that's like it's like magnetic. It's like the
Oh,
Go
like the
3S.
Go 3 or something?
Yeah, yeah. And I was like, you know what? That's actually exactly what I want. And then it's
Yep.
also just because it's so small, like you could put it on the bike anywhere and get like
Yep.
really cool shots. And I was like, you know what? I returned both my GoPro. I like they were still in the return window. I was like, I returned them and went and bought
Yeah.
the Insta stuff, and I've been pretty
Yeah.
happy with it. I mean,
I used that Go 2
go ahead.
for a couple of years and really liked it. And I actually dropped it in a fire and it still worked after I dropped it in a fire. So I was like,
Oh,
wow, this
wow.
is pretty tough. I couldn't get it to fit back in the case appropriately. So it wouldn't charge all the time. So I just haven't bought another one, but I love that form factor. It's perfect for above your
Yeah,
helmet,
no, super fun.
under your visor.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can just like put it all over the place. Like the other day I was like I just wanted like kind of like a B-rolly kind of shot, and I could there was a sign there. I just stuck it right to the sign, and like
Yeah.
because it's got a little magnetic to it, you know, and it's like, oh, this is cool, man. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
I don't
super
know.
versatile. I also really like that one because I remember like it record at least the one I had, the 2 recorded in a full circle. So in the app, you could mess with the angle that you had it at just a
Ah,
tiny bit because it was like filming a full circle. And so you had these like the edges that could kind of go up a little bit before you saw the edges of the circle in the software. And I'm
oh, it
assuming the
was like
3 has
recording
that
the whole
also.
frame.
Yeah. So like if you were like
You know, I
had it
haven't
on
seen
your
that, but I
chest and
don't use the app.
yeah, you have to use the app if you're going to do that.
Yeah.
It would. There was a trick back then, and it may be different because Insta360 uses updates their app all the time. But you had to long press on the screen on your footage, and you could
Uh-huh.
scroll up and down, and it would shift it just a little
Interesting.
bit up and down or side to side. And so, like if you had it on your
Mm,
chest and it was just slightly angled down a little too much, you could kind of fudge it a
yeah.
little bit, and get it to the right angle. And I was like, that is like, all cameras should record a giant circle so you can mess around with it like that.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I did like about the GoPro, the last one that I was using, that had that full frame mode. So it would take, you could set it in that setting. It took up a lot more space when you're recording, but then you could be like, oh, I can pull vertical or horizontal on this. If it's not exactly the right angle, I can readjust that in post. So that was really nice to have. I wish that Insta had that as well. That would be cool.
Yeah, with the 360 camera, that's the big benefit that I've found, is like, if you could get any angle you want. I mean, you could have it on your chest and point it straight up at your head afterwards, but you've got all that editing after the fact that you have to do, which is time consuming, and it's huge amounts of storage. Like a 10-minute video is gonna be 10 gigs of data, easy.
Yeah,
like that's
so crazy.
Much space.
Yeah, they definitely burn through the cards a lot faster, because I've been shooting with the 8K mostly, just because, not that I'm like editing 8K, but then I still just like downsize it into 4K, but I feel like it looks better then, you know?
Yeah. And I like having those higher resolutions, because you could record whatever scene you wanted. And if you saw something on the side of the trail, you could crop and zoom in and still have good quality image. So, 8K is huge. So you've got a lot of cropping space to be able to really get some zoom in feature if you wanted to.
Yeah, you can bump it in 200-300% and be okay. It doesn't, I mean, I know when you're on 4K and you're already editing on a 4K timeline, like if you bump it in that much, it definitely gets, you don't want to leave it that way very long, just because it looks like shit, but it's like, you're trying to get your point across or something. But How long have you been running?
Say that again.
How long have you been running your channel?
Oh, well, my channel is actually 8 years old, but really like kind of getting serious about it, or like putting more dedicated time to it, about 5 years is really where I've kind of been. I think whenever it really started to like I started dedicating my time was whenever we moved into our new house and we had some land, and I wanted to do some backyard trail building, because that was the whole thing back in 2019, 2020. Like everybody was wanting to do backyard trail builds. So, and I was like, oh, cool, I've got land, so might as well build a trail. So that's kind of got me into it, and it kind of put me on a schedule. Like, I want to build this feature this week, and then in 2 weeks I want to build this feature, and then get brave enough to actually ride what I built, which sometimes was kind of sketchy.
Do you still have the trail, or?
I do have it. This time of year, it's such a pain to maintain, because everything's growing so fast around here. It's just like, spring comes along and then we get a ton of rain, and the grass will grow, 4 or 5 inches a week. And so I've got some equipment that I can maintain it with, but we had a couple of tornadoes come through the area. Nothing hit directly in my town, but the winds were high enough that it blew over a couple of really big trees and blocked the trail and a bunch of branches down. So I got to get out there at some point with a chainsaw and a weed eater. And my kind of like 3 or 4 years ago, I would have been like on top of it, just doing it right away. But I've learned that if I just wait like a month, because I'm not going to go out there because the ticks are like crazy right now on that trail. And my trails are relatively thin. They're not like a public trail, where it's a little bit wider and they have to maintain them a little bit better. So if I wait till like closer to like the end of July or the middle of July, that grass stops growing in the woods, and then I don't have to do as much weed eating. So I'll just wait till the grass kind of stops growing out there, and then I'll go out there and chop the trees down that are in the way of the trail and get everything looking good.
Totally makes sense. Yeah. It's a lot of work to keep up that stuff. When I was younger, before I bought my first house, I remember being like, man, I can't wait to have a yard and like do all this and that with it. And then I got a house with a yard, and then the next house I was like, I want a house with a really little yard, because I don't want to do all that stuff. It just takes
too much time. One of those robot mowers.
Right?
Yeah, we've got about 10.5 acres, and we mow probably 4 or 5 of it. And last year, my youngest daughter wanted to start earning money. She wasn't old enough to actually work. And I was like, look, I'm tired of mowing the yard. I will pay you
Yeah.
monthly to mow the yard and learn how to ride a zero turn. And like and it'll be good practice for you to avoid things. So you know how to do this before you get into a car and drive when you're 16.
Yeah.
And so she's like, oh yeah, she jumped on it. And so she's been mowing for
Yeah.
the past 2 years. And I told my wife, I said, man, when she moves out or quits mowing for me, I really hope the robot mowers are big enough to cover a couple of acres at a time because I'm
Right.
not going to want to mow that much. My mower's fast, but it still takes 2 hours to mow.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. That's when you go down to the high school and like freaking coach you another kid.
exactly. Want to earn some money? Come on over.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's hilarious. Yeah, it's definitely I'm at a point in my life where I'm like, I will pay for somebody else to do things so that I can have that time to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
And when I
Yeah.
was
I'm
younger,
that way with
obviously,
oil changes. I used to change my oil all the time. And now I'm just like, nah, it's worth the $60 to have somebody do it for me.
yeah, totally. And you don't even have to do it that often anymore. I mean, like
Right.
back in the day, they always say 5,000 miles. Now it's like if you let the freaking thing on your car tell you when to do it, it's like closer to 10,
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So, yeah, I remember changing my oil like once or twice and was like, this is a pain in the butt, man.
Yeah.
Then you have to
On
get
my
rid of the oil and like,
Yeah, that's the part that's the most annoying. Like I'll go get the oil and all that and then change it. And then I'm like, oh great, now I got to go to the automotive store with this like nasty oil can in the
right,
back of my car, or my truck, and just hope it doesn't spill everywhere.
right. That's hilarious. So was the channel named Run Bike Mike before you like thought about doing it like more so, or was that like the name that you chose whenever you decided to go into it more?
Well, that was the name that I originally started with, and mainly because I was going to do back whenever I originally started the channel, like vlogs were really good. Like Casey Neistat
Mhm.
was big, and
Yeah.
the I don't know if you remember or if you ever watched him, but the cycling maven. He was in Australia and he did road bike stuff, and I was into road biking back then, and I was like, oh, I could be a vlogger, and then I quickly realized I don't have the personality to be a vlogger at all, or the endurance to have that much energy on camera every day. So
Yeah.
I was planning on doing a lot of like running stuff and biking stuff, and I was like, oh, RunBikeMike's catchy, and then I didn't do really any running stuff. So I
Yeah.
occasionally post a running thing here and there, but it was just more of like I thought that's the direction the channel was going to go because that's what people were doing back then, and that is not where
Yeah.
the channel went at all.
That's one of my advice to people, like my pieces of advice to people whenever they say they're going to start a channel is I always tell them just come up with some name that's like doesn't put you in any niche.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I understand why some people use their own name or just use something that means nothing,
right.
or it just is like because I I feel like a lot of creators like we'll start out with an idea and then maybe down the road we're like, man, I'm not sure that's exactly what you like the kind of content that I want to make or whatever,
Right.
and once you have an audience already, like you can kind of pivot a little bit and get away with it. It's like Bobo did, he changed his from biking with Bobo to just
Yep.
Bobo and then
Yep.
slowly started doing, different content that's just more like skit based. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I feel like that's what a lot of people do when they get a little bit bigger is they wind up just flipping it over to their name. Like
yeah,
just just their name. Like if they get out of the area that they were in, they just change it to their name and that's it. So I,
it is what it is.
I've toiled with it a few times, but it's like, oh my gosh, the things that you have to change, it's just like overwhelming. That's, I've got a website, I've got, all my social media and all that stuff. I have a
Dealing with
couple of
it.
different channels, and I did change one of the names here recently. because I named my backyard trail Walnut Springs. Just thought that was clever. It turns out that didn't work at all. Nobody knew what that meant. But I created a channel specifically for like tool reviews of like things that I was using on the trail and just around my house. And I called it Walnut Springs. Well, nobody knew nobody was looking for that when they were looking for tool reviews. So I changed it to all tool reviews. And now I've got a website called Walnut Springs. I think that's what it's called. I don't ever go to it anymore. I actually need to get rid of the domain, but it's like, I got this website that doesn't correlate with my YouTube channel now. And if I did that with my main channel, it would just be like, it's just, I can't even think about how much work that would be.
Yeah.
So I just leave it.
No, I feel you, dude. I definitely understand completely. And I think I used to be a lot more motivated with my website too, where like nowadays I'm like more and more, I'm like, do I even need a website? Like, honestly, you know?
Yeah. I kind of like think of it as like, the only reason I ever keep mine around is for any type of affiliate stuff. So like my bike reviews that I do, like the e-bike reviews, like I'll throw one up there every once in a while and have like affiliate links. Because I have found that there are a select number of people that find me through that website. But I did a test last year where I put up a actual blog post for every bike review I did just to see it, and then actually specifically made the affiliate links specific for that blog post and tracked it to see if, I got affiliate sales from that. And it wasn't, I don't know that it was enough to justify the amount of work that went into the whole thing. So, but
yeah, when I first started my channel, I used to make like a blog post for every video that I posted. And then on there, I would have like, my videos were different then, but it would have like, hey, here's the trail map for the area. Like, here's like a little bit of more write up of it than maybe what I would have done on my description and some things like that. But I just ended up starting to feel like over time that it just wasn't really worth the effort. Like kind of what you were saying, it really wasn't much of an added value. I think at this point, the website's nice to have for some people that maybe want to go and get a little bit more information, or if you want to have some place to house some information for people that you can't put in the like description. But yeah, it's just other than that, like for merch, I think it's good for merch, but I've been battling with that lately too, because they have that merch shelf on YouTube. And in order to implement that on my website, I need to either use a different host. Like I use GoDaddy right now, so I'd have to switch to Shopify, or I could use a Shopify thing and plug it into my WordPress site. But then it's like, oh, I'm paying for like 2 hostings. Like what the fuck is that for? And and unlike you being able to get rid of domains, for some reason I keep every freaking domain that I've ever bought in my life.
Well, they're so cheap.
I can't let this one go. It's only $20 a year, and it's like, you got 5 of them, dude.
Yeah, they make them cheap enough that you're like, why even get rid of it? It's like 10 to 20 bucks a year, so just hang on to it. But the website thing is interesting. I know that there are a few people that have been pretty successful with blog posts and stuff. I believe 99 Spokes, who they do a lot of review stuff. I think they're pretty successful with their blog, and they have a lot of return.
I think their blog is like kind of like maybe their SEO or whatever, the way that they write the stuff. Like it definitely feels like more like a trying to think of like Bike Rumor or something like that it's like you're going there to read about their reviews. So it kind of complements it
like
well
that's
that
like
way,
their main focus.
It seems like you do a lot of reviews on your channel. Is that like what you want to do, or it just seems like the way that it plays out? Or
that's the way it's played out for sure. A lot of the things I absolutely love to review. I mean, like I've got a couple bikes back here. That silver one, I've got that one from Bikes Online. I love reviewing their bikes just because it's like right up my alley. Like I love gravel bikes, I love mountain bikes, and they're kind of in the budget oriented side, but they're coming out with a lot of high end stuff. Like that one is a Mossy and it's definitely not cheap. So it's kind of cool. But then like this one here is a Primos. It's an $800 gravel bike. So yeah, I love reviewing that type of stuff. And then I'll get occasional like small products that are, they're fun to make like little shorts out of and things. But a couple of years ago, I just kind of like was looking around my garage and like, well, maybe I could do a little review on a few of the products that I've got. So popped up a few reviews, and then I had a couple companies reach out and say, hey, would you be interested in reviewing our product? And I was like, sure. And then just one thing led to another where companies were just willing to like send stuff for reviews. And eventually I got kind of known for reviewing particular things in the industry. And it just kind of went from there. And then I got into like the budget e-bike market quite a bit. And that kind of took over the channel for quite a while. And I realized that I needed to separate that stuff out from the mountain biking and gravel biking stuff, because the algorithm gets confused as to who to feed your video to. So just this year, I created another channel specifically for budget friendly e-bikes, or just like e-bikes that like just a normal person just shopping for an e-bike would go get, like an Aventon or a Velotrek. So I've got a channel now called Ride Electric Reviews. And on that channel, that's going to be just electric bikes, scooters, things like that, you know, most of them will be under like $2,000. And then RunBikeMike is going to be strictly focused on gravel bike and mountain bike, primarily mountain bike, but gravel bike mixed in there, and accessories that go with it. So yeah, it's like both of those channels have completely evolved into reviewing products and just kind of creating that type of format for whoever sends me a product. And with obviously, I don't like to have strings attached. Whenever I do a review, I like to give honest feedback. And sometimes the companies like that, sometimes they don't. When they don't,
how do you navigate that?
Oh, well,
how do you navigate that? Because sometimes I've tried that before. I tried to use like Seth's, but apparently my channel's not as big as his, where he's just kind of like, hey, if you want to send it to me, I might do a video, I might not. And they're like, yeah, okay, I'm not gonna send you anything.
Yeah, I get that too. I mean, I got to a point about a year and a half ago where I told myself, if it's a product I'm interested in, I'm just going to say yes. Like, I'm not going to have any stipulation behind it. I'm just going to say yes. I'm going to work on making the channel a review channel, and knowing that I'm going to probably get a product that's only $50 to purchase, and I'm going to spend 20 hours reviewing this, and it's going to be a huge like money loss for me, but it'll at least kind of get my name out there in the industry. And then hopefully I'll start getting more high dollar stuff that once I'm done with the full review, if I don't really need it or I don't need to keep it, then I can sell it and just make money off of that. And then eventually start working in like either paid deals with companies or sponsorships and things like that. So yeah. It's been a whole like very slow grind to get my name into with some of these companies, but it's been pretty nice because I've actually been working with several companies to create content specifically just for them that I don't even produce put on my channel. And that's been kind of a nice thing. So it's like part of my RunBikeMike company has turned into almost an ad company for companies. So like what you would see for somebody who is like, just, I don't know, like if, I don't know, just any company, Granite Design, they sent me something and they wanted something specific for them. Well, okay, well, I'm not going to put it on my channel, but I'll make it specific for you, and you guys can run it as an ad, and I get to keep the product. I may get paid, I may not. So try to run it like a business more so than a hobby. And once I started doing that, it kind of turned around and became something that I was like, okay, I can actually spend my time doing this, because it's not just me going out riding the trail hoping that I get views, because views are so hard to get, like, period. Like,
Yeah.
they're very challenging in my opinion. Like, you are fighting, you are in a sea of mountain bikers and you don't even know how many mountain bikers are out there, and you're just hoping that you
Yeah.
get views. And there's a few channels out there that just basically consume most of the views. And so working with companies is pretty nice, being able to, you know, figure out what their products are and give them feedback, and kind of work closely with the company, but not be employed by them and not be obligated to
Yeah.
stick with their stuff. So not being sponsored
Yeah.
is kind of the big thing. I was sponsored by one company over the last year, and there were times I wanted to review something else, but I couldn't because I was under
Yeah.
sponsorship from them. And so you feel kind of stuck. And I quickly learned that that's not how I would want to do things. Like, I want to be able to, if I've got a bike by a particular brand and I want to compare it to another bike, I want to be able to do that without
Yeah.
having to worry about that company being like, look, that's not part of your contract. So
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
it's definitely like a catch-22, you know. That's the tough part about being a smaller channel, is that you don't have that leverage that somebody like, you know, the Seths out there, you know, has, where they're just like, yeah, send me this and I'll talk about it if I feel like it.
yep.
You know, or like
Yeah.
it he has the ability. I mean, if you look at how many views his like individual videos are getting, like it's really high. So like
Yeah.
he's built enough of a community and enough of like respect with the algorithm, I guess, to be able to like do very well on each individual video. You know, it's like,
Yep.
if I had my videos doing like the views that he was doing, yeah, I wouldn't need a sponsorship either. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And that's
Uh,
kind of like with the Ride Electric review channels. Like, I found that I could get a budget e-bike and I could review that budget e-bike. And if it wasn't one that somebody in my family wanted to keep, I more than likely wasn't going to keep it because I've got other bikes that I'm riding. I could
yeah,
then sell that on Marketplace and recoup any kind of money that for my time. And
yeah,
so, and there's a huge industry of people doing this. Like, it really
yeah,
surprised me how many people are getting products in, doing a review where the companies don't require you to send a video to them or anything like that, just doing basically
yeah,
like a general overview of a bike. And whether they give their opinion or they don't give their opinion, just basically saying, hey, here's the drivetrain, here's how it climbed up a hill, here's how fast it
yeah,
went, throttle, without throttle. Like, that industry is gigantic. It's really surprising how big that
yeah,
industry is. I had no idea until I got into it that they are probably, I personally know probably 50 channels that do the same thing I do. And there's who knows
yeah.
how many more doing that exact same thing.
Right, right. Yeah, it's I mean, it's definitely, I kind of do what you said earlier. If it's something really grabs on my attention, like Electric reached out to me at one point, and
Yeah.
it was like, at the time it was like their gravel e-bike that they had came out with, and I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Like,
Yeah.
it felt like it could be a fun video for me to do, to like, to see like, hey, does it really matter to have like, for my workout, like, does this add anything, you know? And so like I
Right.
did a video on it, and then sold it on Marketplace, because like I really don't have any like need for it, you know?
Right. Right.
And but yeah, no, that was cool. But I definitely am very particular about what products that I'm gonna even respond to. Cause, you know, like every day you open up your email box and there's some
Yeah.
other company like send you some
Oh,
weird shit too. It'd be like, hey,
oh,
we love your channel. You have such a great audience. Would you review these steak knives? And you're like, what the
yeah.
fuck? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I get one for a hair dryer and I'm bald. So it's like,
yeah.
I don't need a hair dryer. Like, I know I wear a hat all the time, so you may not know, but yeah, like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to review a hair dryer on a mountain biking channel. So
Yeah. Yeah. I've definitely gotten some for like cosmetic, for like, I don't know, like fashion things. I'm like, dude, are you
oh yeah,
guys? I mean, obviously, it's some bot that's just going through, you know, YouTube and giving them contacts or something like that. But it's interesting. So
Yeah, I think what
but
they
I'm
do,
definitely like, go ahead.
I think what they do, and I've talking with a lot of people in the industry, like in like, for instance, like the like mountain or the bike accessory companies, most of those accessories are like the generic ones are like all made in similar factories, or the factories are right next to each other. And so those companies are like kind of all housed around each other, from what I understand. And they'll share like basically like email groups of people who like have responded, or people who have a certain subscriber count, or people that are just on some sort of interest list. So you'll get like
Yeah.
probably some mountain biking product or electric bike product that has your email on a list, and they'll give it to the cosmetic company for some reason, and they'll just blast this
Yeah.
out to all these people who have nothing to do with it, but they supposedly love your channel. So it's
Right.
like
Right. Yeah, you can
all the
tell
emails
it's
are
like a
so
script
generic.
that's written in the email because it's like very generic, and then it's like
Oh,
kind of plug in your name here, plug in your channel name here, plug, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
there's little
sometimes you see
variables
with
that
the
they
little
get thrown
the
out.
square bracket around it where the name is
Yeah.
supposed to go, and they forget to like get rid of those square brackets. Like, come on.
Yeah. Bad programming. They whoever wrote their script for them did a shitty job.
Yeah.
So that's funny. So what do you so you have a couple of channels, are like how many hours do you have in your day, dude?
I don't know, man. I'm really trying to slow down. I generally try to do like 2 videos a week, but I'm trying to like push that back to where I'm going to do probably 1 video every week for each channel, or at that level. So like four a month is kind of like my goal.
Yeah.
Um, but I separated everything out so they would all kind of be on their own, like their own section, so the algorithm would pick them up. Like I have an e-moto
Yeah.
channel, I have that tool review channel, and then I have an electric bike channel, and then I have my RunBikeMike channel. And by no means am I going to be doing a video every week for each one. So like the e-moto channel, I might do one once a month, maybe once
Yeah.
every just to kind of like feed stuff out there, and then occasionally throw out shorts. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a very time consuming, but it's a fun hobby, or business, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to go full time with it, but it's just my current full time job. It's got good benefits and it works well with my family, and I have no reason
Yeah.
to even want to leave that job, other than if something big happened and I could just travel the world with whatever YouTube was doing. But YouTube's so
Right.
volatile. I mean, you could crush it one year, and then all of a sudden the next year you like make pennies. So it's like
Yeah.
you just don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's definitely it's interesting. And I think, for me, sometimes I wonder, like, is my like performance on YouTube directly correlated to like me not actually doing it as a full-time job? Or is it like
Yeah, I
that
think
way
that
because of other factors, and I think, when I first started my channel, I was doing at least one video a week. And at this point, I like to say in my mind I'm going to do one every 2 weeks, but it really ends up being like once a month. And
yeah.
but I
Your
feel like
stuff
the
is like
videos that I'm
really
doing now, they,
your stuff's
they
really
do a
good.
lot
Like
better views.
yeah, I've been watching like some of your most recent stuff, and it seems like it's like really polished. Like
Yeah,
you're going for detail. It seems like you probably, I'm assuming you have some sort of script that you write and all that stuff. So you're definitely like putting in the level of like detail that you put in yours. There's no way I could do that and put one out like every week. That's like a
yeah.
once a month gig at the level that you're doing it at. So
Well, I'm glad
yeah.
that you recognize that, because man, it feels like it's like, the rest of the world out there is like, dude, you don't ever make any content. It's like, dude, to
Dude, they
make
don't
the
know how.
content the way that I'm making it is like a
Yeah,
ridiculous amount of time.
yeah. I mean, a lot of people don't realize like the amount of effort that can go into like doing little details. Like if you're putting words on the screen, to pop up at a certain time, or sound effects to come in, or transitions, trying to get drone shots and regular shots and then voiceovers. I mean, it's part of the industry, right? Like, it is what it is, but you can tell the people who like are putting in, like, who are wanting to make something kind of like cinematic almost. And I kind of like picture your stuff as like storytelling, cinematic type thing. Like JT, the Dusty Dutchman, his stuff is like super detailed,
he's
like
super dialed.
really well polished, and it's amazing. And I would love to be able to do that, but there's no way I could produce the volume that I'm trying to produce. And for review stuff, I don't think you necessarily need to, but for storytelling, like what you're doing, the detail is really nice.
Yeah, I'm editing a video right now. It's just me talking about some products that I like. And man, I almost recorded. I mean, I recorded the whole thing right here, like, and just in front of this table, you know. And I was like, wow, this is really easy. But even as I'm editing through that, my mind is still like, oh, well, I should put in some B-roll here and some B-roll there. And I'm just complicating the shit out of it. It's like, I wish that I could not do that. But I think the reason that I like doing YouTube is really the creative process of it. So I kind of like, I hate doing that shit. And at the same time, I must enjoy it as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You want the pride of what you created. And I definitely can see that. There's moments where, since I produce a pretty high volume, that I have to kind of step back and just say, okay, like, I go on these binges where I basically say I'm not accepting any products from any company for the next month and a half, because I need to like get my creative style back. Because if you have so much stuff coming in, it's overwhelming, and then you feel rushed and you can't feel like you can produce what you really want to produce. And so by slowing them down, I find that, okay, I can get back into it. I can create shorts and reels and stuff that are like fun. Like, I've done tons of ASMR like style shorts with mountain biking products that have been really pretty good, like pretty successful. And I love making those, because it's like, just, you have to get the camera real close, you have to put the microphone just right, and then you have to cut it and crop it and everything just right. And I like doing that style of stuff. But so I'm definitely with you. The creative stuff is fun for sure.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's just like you said, it's super time consuming to tell that story that way. So yeah. What's your creative process like? Do you just go out and just film, or do you write a script of some sort? Do you have like an idea what you're doing?
It just depends. Sometimes I'll write a script if I'm having trouble like coming up with an idea. Like, if I've got a product that I need to talk about or whatever, I'll be like, okay, I don't really know how I'm going to even introduce this product or what I'm going to do. So I'll just start typing, write a script. I don't do it word for word. I've got a teleprompter that I've used, but I primarily have used that for creating ads for a company. But for like my type of reviews, I usually just do like bullet points. Like, I want to hit this.
Do you feel like the teleprompter works well?
Yeah, the teleprompter worked really well once I kind of got used to it, and I found the right software. So there's like one that I use on my iPhone that essentially listens to your voice, and it knows what the words are on your script. And so as you talk, it scrolls with what you're saying. And so you don't have to have like a little remote. So like, if you're at a desk like we are right now, you can have the little remote, you know, and you can hit a button and it'll scroll for you. But when you're standing back and you're like in front of the camera by a bike or whatever you're by, like, I found myself like being able to read down a little bit and then like having to stop and go over and scroll. But the software on the iPhone that allows you to do that, it just listens to your voice and then moves, and it's pretty accurate.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm not sometimes I'll write like bullets, like what you said. And then, because I always feel like when somebody's reading, you can always tell they're reading. You know what I mean? And so I try to approach it like a point almost, where it's like, I want the PowerPoint bullets to remind me of what I want to say. And then I just want to kind of like freelance it or whatever, you know, like,
that definitely is more my style too. Just kind of getting, when I do write a script, it's like more like just so I can kind of like etch it in my brain, the direction I want it to go.
Yeah.
And then the bullet points are kind of like there just to remind me of what I was supposed to say. But honestly, most of the time it's just like I just wing it. Like, especially with like the
Yeah.
e-bike reviews, I've reviewed so many of them that I kind of just know, like, just by looking at the bike, you
Yeah.
could probably do this with mountain bikes. You can just look at it and you know what those parts are. And so,
Yeah.
like, most of those budget e-bikes, it's like almost all of them come with the same drivetrain. So it's like, okay, yeah, this is an 8-speed with a trigger shifter. Like, I don't have to have a script for that. So,
Yeah.
but when I get into
Yeah, I'm
more
sure you
detail,
probably have, like you have, like, a routine, like, like, you're
mhm.
like, "Oh, I know I can, like, go from here to here to here
Yep.
and, like, keep out another video," so
Yeah. And with
yeah.
those type of reviews, it's just like the companies are just wanting you to get something out there so their brand gets attention, and that's that. But whenever
Yeah.
I get into things like with bikes online, where I'm actually doing like reviews on Polygon bikes and Mossy bikes and Superior bikes, I usually write those scripts out because they're more in depth and the parts are
Mhm.
more unique to those particular bikes. So some of them might
Yeah.
have SRAM products, some of them might have Shimano, and in each one of those, as you know, there's a whole bunch of different levels. So having that
Yeah.
script or typing that script out to kind of get an idea, it definitely helps me.
Yeah, sometimes it just helps to get your kind of thought process right too. I'll write things out for my voiceovers and my stories, but I don't
Mhm.
do it ahead of time. So it's not like I write it out and then go out and film it. I go out and film and then I'm
Yeah.
sitting down editing. I'm literally like writing it as I'm editing it. Like, oh, I
Yeah.
want to talk about this. And then I write a couple sentences and I do the voiceover and then I edit through that, you're like, oh
Uh-huh.
wow, 3 sentences. I got through 30 seconds. Like it only took me
Yeah,
six
I'll do
hours.
that.
Great.
I'll do that a lot too, where I'll be like, okay, I don't even know how this is going to turn out, but I shot a whole bunch of video, and I'll be like, okay, this area is voiceover. Now I need to go in my garage and be in the studio area, and I actually need to like be in front of the camera, and then
Yeah.
I'll figure out how much of the in front of the camera I need, and then I'll record that, and then put the B-roll or whatever POV footage or drone footage, and
Yeah.
then have voiceover for that.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I think we all have our different ways of creating, and it's interesting that like in some aspects will be very similar, and other ones it'll be like completely different. So
Yeah, I kind of like I agree with you. Whenever you were saying you wonder how much different your creative style would be if you did this full time. Like I've wondered that a
yeah.
lot. Like would I get more detailed in my stuff, or would I just get more polished? Like would I be able to produce more content? Like I wonder which
Yeah.
direction it would go if I were waking up in the morning and my job was literally figure out what to do for a video that day.
Yeah.
I think it'd just be a totally
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
landscape.
Yeah. I feel like it would motivate me differently, like as it is for me right now. I really like make my videos when I'm feeling creative, so like sometimes I'll wake up and I'll have every intention of I'm gonna edit this video that I have all this stuff for, and
Yeah.
I'll like make my coffee and I'll come up and I sit down and then like 3 hours later I'm still on YouTube watching videos and I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't want to do it. Like I
Yeah.
can't even force myself to do it, and other
Yeah.
days like today, for example, it's like, oh, I need to work on that. And I like started working on it. I was like, okay, that was super easy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's kind of how
yeah,
I've been lately. Like I've kind of like had this like kind of slow period, and it's been nice, but I feel like the slow period might be a little bit too long. I need to like get back into it because I've always got this
yeah,
like thought in the back of my head that if I take a break, I won't come back to it. So I always have to
yeah.
keep going. And I was last night I was looking on Instagram and I wound up, I was like, oh my gosh, I've spent 45 minutes just scrolling through reels on here. Like I need to go do something before I waste all my night away.
Yeah. No, I definitely know how that goes. That's the story of my life, right? So, what are you excited about with the Run Bike Mike channel?
Well, I mean, being that I've just changed over to that, I moved all the like budget electric bikes over there. I'm pretty stoked to be doing some stuff with the Bikes Online bikes. Got a
Hmm.
couple of new stuff with new things with them, and then I want to do some upgrades on a few of my bikes. I haven't done like kind of an upgrade video or upgrade series in a while. Like this Primos bike back
Hmm.
here. This is just such a cool like steel gravel bike, super inexpensive. I think of it as my bike that I'm not afraid to take to the store and just kind of like if it got stolen, I wouldn't be heartbroken. But if one of my other
Yeah.
bikes got stolen, I would be devastated because it's like the difference between 800 and like $2,000 to $3,000. It's
Yeah.
it's not as hard. So I've got some Jones bars. Have you ever heard of those? The Jones handlebars.
Yeah, the name sounds familiar. I'm trying to like place it in my head. Aren't they got like a weird like handle spots to them or something?
Yeah, they're like swooped back, kind of like almost like a weird cruiser style, but not quite cruiser style. People are starting to use them on mountain bikes, I guess. I ordered some
Hmm.
for the Primos bike and I want to try them out. And I think they would be really comfortable for like bike packing and things like that. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, just getting more into like going back to my roots on the Run Bike Mike stuff with dedicated mountain
Yeah.
biking, gravel biking stuff is really where I'm kind of excited. It took me several months to kind of transition over to where I'm at with my channels. And so now I can really focus on delivering that type of video. So the algorithm will hopefully figure it out. And then I won't be confusing my audience along the way of what's actually going to come up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of why I broke out my podcast to this separate channel. Originally, I was doing it on the same channel as my other content, and then I found myself like, are these people subscribing because they like the podcast, or are these people subscribing because they like my like stories, or like? Then I felt like the algorithm was confused. They're like, okay, so only these many people click on this video, but if it's this live stream, then these many people will stay on for 2 hours. Like it just like I just felt like it really confused the algorithm as well.
Yeah, I agree. It's like if you're not really consistent with the style, I feel like it just doesn't know who to feed it to. I mean, I think you can do like
Yeah.
generalized stuff, but like for me, having a budget fat tire e-bike and then having a $3,000 mountain bike the next week is like, who am I catering to? Like the person who's like
Hmm.
in their 40s to 60s wanting to get back into biking using an e-bike, or the person in their 20s to 40s wanting to mountain bike. It's like
Yeah.
it didn't know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to me, like, 'cause, like, if you were to tell me before hearing, like, kinda all your explanation, like, I would think that, "Oh, you should be able to do that all on the same channel,"
Yeah.
but, I mean, obviously, you have the experience to know, like, "Yeah, it wasn't working right," you know?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that I made it work, but I think I could have seen a bigger performance boost in like my audience and overall viewership. Because whenever I would
Mhm.
stack videos that were similar back to back, so like for instance, whenever I did a gravel bike video series where I upgraded my Marin and I did a whole bunch of it, like by the time I got to the third video, it started like getting more views, and then the fourth video
Mhm.
got even more views, and then I put out a video that wasn't even related to that, and then like that went
Your
nowhere.
tank.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
like it's like I could see that, okay, if I'm consistent across this style of bike, because you would think it's bikes,
Mhm.
right? Like if you like bikes, you like bikes. At least that's how I am. But it's
Right.
very niche. Like road bikers like road bikes, and gravel bikers like gravel
Yeah.
bikes, and gravel bikers like mountain bikes. But it's like though that's
Sorta.
kind of like the closest thing, right? Like you see
Yeah,
like
yeah.
mountain bikers and gravel bikers are about as close as you can get, but mountain bikers and road bikers are two totally separate groups.
But even there, it's like the crossover is small. Like, for example, Dustin Klein, like he's also another channel, like just like editing wise, like it's just really well done. His camera work's awesome. Like the way that he talks to it is just amazing. But he's mostly a gravel rider, and because of that, I personally, like, even though I ride a gravel bike, like I don't look for that content. So it'll be like only here and there that I'll like jump in and watch something that he made. Even though, I mean, I love all of his content that I do watch. It's just like you said, it's weird. It's like a niche of a niche, you know?
Yeah. And it like even gets even more, like you could even get into more detail. Like if you wanted like mountain biking, you could be XC mountain biking specific or enduro mountain biking specific. And like there's whole channels that are dedicated to just mountain bikes, like Rob rides EMTBs. Like he's extremely successful and he's just does EMTBs.
Yeah, there's a guy too that does like just really like budget bikes, and that's it, you know. And yeah, it's interesting. It does. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, like there's enough people on YouTube that even though it may seem like it's super niche to you, they're still like, hey, there's still 500,000 people that would want to watch that. You know what I mean? So
there's, so I mean, they were saying that there's like 3 billion people or something that watch YouTube on a daily basis. Like it's an insane number of people. And that's one of the big things that anybody who ever asks me says, what do I got to do to start a channel? And I'm like, the first thing you got to do is start. Like, you're not going to take off right away, right? Unless you're just like really lucky, like the Lone Ranger. He has that story where he said like his first video got like 1 million views, and it's like, okay, you're one in a billion people that could ever like achieve that in your first video. So it's just like, you just got to start producing content out there, because there's like 3 billion or some outrageous number of people watching videos. And there's a lot of people, like 1 billion videos uploaded every day. So you're just, if you get a view, you're kind of lucky.
Yeah. It's crazy to think about how like the numbers of people that are watching, or even the number of like video, as like from an IT perspective, I'm like, dude, how do they even do that storage wise? It doesn't even make sense to me.
It doesn't. Like, I don't get how they do it either. It's like the amount, they have to be adding hard drives every 30 minutes.
Second. Right?
Yeah. It's
like, it's not even like their old data goes away. It's like you have to keep everything. Even the guy that accidentally uploaded like 6 hours of like his fireplace burning or something, you know? Like, exactly. And the guy's been dead for like 30 years, and it's like, nope, we still got that on there, you know?
I couldn't imagine how, and you know, from an IT perspective, like how they retrieve that stuff so quickly. Because I mean, you do a search for it and it pops up, and it's like data retrieval is an art. And
I mean, if you were the guy that channel, you could log into your YouTube and hit play, and it'll be playing. And it's like, so like in my mind, it's like, okay, well, we're gonna geek out for a second, but it's like, okay, I can understand how you can have storage that's like things that don't get access very often. It kind of goes over there, you know. But what you just said a minute ago actually just added a whole other layer in my head, because it's like, no, that does, like, it's not like it takes another 30 seconds whenever you're one of those guys that hasn't had your video watched in 1,000 years. You know?
It's like they've got it all indexed, and it's indexed to where it'll just fire up instantly. It's wild. It's wild. I'd hate to see their data centers and all the cabling and all that stuff. It'd be
when they have to have this like data more than like, it has to be all over the planet as well. Because it's not like it's all in the Bay Area, and it's like that's where everybody's like hitting their because it's like geographically wherever you're at, you know.
So, and as we go,
and if you're in India,
more people do it.
You know,
more people upload every day. Like every day, more people are becoming YouTubers, and it's like, It's not like it was 10 years ago where you had like, 100,000 people or whatever, million people doing YouTube.
Yeah.
Now you have, hundreds of millions of people uploading all over the world all the time.
It's something, it's like, and I think it's kind of weird for us to kind of think about, but it's something now that kids in school are like, oh, I want to be a YouTuber when I grow up.
Yeah.
Like that's actually like a profession that they're like considering to aspire to, where,
Yeah. I mean, if you do
for
it
a
right,
long time,
there's money.
yeah,
Like there's people that make a ton of money doing it. And it's,
yeah,
if you can figure it out and you're creative, it's like you got yourself a better paying career than any corporate job would ever give you.
yeah, it's a grind though, man. You watch a lot of them. I watch a lot of, or a handful of channels that are like, YouTube specific, kind of like
Mhm.
creator specific, like Colin Samir, kind of like that. And
Mhm.
um, one of the things I've noticed is a lot of these channels or people that have channels that are really big, that they did YouTube in some other aspect, whether it was other channels or being an editor on some other channel
Yep.
for like 10 years before they actually made the channel that you know them from,
Right.
even
Yeah.
somebody like Mr. Beast, like for like 10 or 15 years, basically made content that nobody watched,
Right.
and now he's the biggest YouTuber in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. You just never know what's gonna like. I don't know. It's like that's why I'm anybody who asks, I'm like, you just gotta put yourself out there and try it. And who knows, maybe you'll have that personality that just clicks with people and people will start watching you. And then next thing you know, you're the next big whatever.
Yeah, there's definitely a progression to it as well. And I think that advice that you just gave that's the advice that I always try to tell people that was the most influential to me. I think it was like on a post that Jordan Boostmaster had made about how to be a YouTuber or whatever. And that was one of the key things, was just start. And
Yeah.
it really truly is. And some people are like, oh well, I'm no good at talking to the camera, and none of us were,
Yeah.
even me, I'm a very social person, and as far as like getting in front of a crowd and talking, I don't have a problem. But
Right.
when I first started YouTube, to like pull the camera out in the middle of a parking lot and just start talking to it, you feel like a retard,
Oh yeah.
like you feel like,
Yeah.
oh wait, I'm gonna get canceled. You
It's
feel
still
like an
super
idiot,
it's still super awkward for like me to do it sometimes. And I'm like
yeah,
even if I'm like I have a local mountain bike group that I do races with every once in a while, and they know that I'm gonna film it and they know that I'm gonna
yeah,
put the video up for this specific race because I do it every year, and it still is awkward. Like
yeah.
pulling that
I
I,
feel fine in any mountain bike scenario. The
yeah.
places where I feel fine is when I'm like walking through the airport and, talking to the camera, or because it's like in my mind, everybody's like, who's this guy think he is?
Right. Yeah. Oh,
Like,
look at this guy, Mr. Famous.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
right.
for sure. Yeah.
Right.
That's why I couldn't be a blogger, man. I tried. It's
Yeah.
too awkward at times.
Yeah. It's interesting how I think I listened to Casey do an interview, and he was saying that whenever he did a vlog a day for like a year, that it really just changed things for him, because he was able to um like figure out how to do the edit and how to capture what he was capturing, and
Yeah.
be really quick at it all. And that's kind of like what really gave him his chops. And it made me think about like, man, I would like to try to do something like that, even if I tried it for like a month.
Yeah.
But as you said, we were talking about earlier, I just go down the rabbit hole in the edit, and oh
Yeah.
man, it would be really tough for me to publish something that I didn't feel like was like uber polished.
Yeah. Back when I first started the channel, I tried it for 30 days, a vlog a day.
Yeah,
And by day 15, it was exhausting because it's like
yeah,
it, it's not just the capturing the content, it's the fact you have to edit that at that night. And so
yeah,
people who do it for like a solid year, I'm like, that's insane. Like you either capture everything first thing in the morning and then you have the afternoon to edit because that's your job, and I could see how that could
Right.
actually be a thing. But working a full-time job, having a family, trying to do that, like, oh, it was just,
Yeah.
I felt overly consumed by it. And I don't know how people do it that still have all that stuff and do a vlog a day. A lot of them are like,
Yeah.
I guess, family vlogs that vlog their whole family and
Yeah.
stuff. But
Yeah. It's interesting. There's like so many different genres and places that you could go with the content that you make. That, I mean, on one hand, you could say that vlogging's dead, but on the other hand, I'm sure there's plenty of people that watch like different vloggers still to this day. You know what I mean?
oh yeah,
So it's kind of
yeah, well,
like POV video, trail video is like most people would say that's kind of dead, but there's still channels. There's a guy that I subscribe to that's a local guy, and he doesn't talk at all. He just rides the trails, and
yeah,
I watch it all the time because I'm like, oh, that's fun. I know this trail, or oh, I don't know this
right,
trail. Where's he at? You know?
yeah, yeah. Well, there's certain people that obviously have that locked down for like traveling and stuff, like BKXE. It's like people just know that that's what his channel is. It's
Yeah.
POV footage, but it is hard to break into that. But just like you're saying, like you want to kind of get that edit perfected. There's massive channels out there that literally have just kind of like raw video that's just them walking around talking to the camera and hardly any editing at all. And those are the channels that kind of blow me away. They have no thumbnail.
Yeah.
The title is not really anything. And they just are gigantic. There was a guy, can't remember what his channel name was, but one of my friends was showing me, and he's like, have you ever seen this guy? He just does like camping stuff and it's real raw video. And I was like, no, I haven't ever seen it. But go to his channel. He has 14 million subscribers. I'm like, this guy has 14 million subscribers and he's just like making videos that are just real raw, and people, he got in
Yeah.
somehow. I'm like, that's incredible. Like, that's, some
I
people
feel like
just like,
there must be some kind of tipping point that once you get so many subscribers that you have enough people that are just there to like see what you're doing. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah, for
Because
sure. Yeah.
I would be curious, like, what his views look like. Some of those channels, though, they may have 14 million subscribers, but they're really still only getting like 15, 20,000 views per video.
Right.
But then there's other ones that are like that are like 14 million subscribers, and every video is getting like 60 million views. And you're like, what is going on here? Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah, like
don't, I
that
feel
guy,
like there's a code that I need to get.
right. That guy, looked at him and his video had 7 million views in like 7 days. I was like, oh, that's
Wow.
that's an insane amount
So
of
it's like
views.
50% of his subscribers at least are probably
Yeah,
watching. So
yeah, and
it's
that's a statistic that the big mountain biking channels don't have. Like, if you look at some of the big mountain
yeah,
biking channels, like they're only getting 10% like of their
yeah,
subscribers watching their content. And that, I would say that's probably pretty average across YouTube, is somewhere between 5 and 15% of your subscribers are actually watching most of your videos. And see that guy hit that many views, I was like, whoa, either that video is a special or he has just got some super sick talent that I didn't notice, but I was like, that's wild.
right. Yeah, yeah. No, it's a trip, man. It's like it makes you wonder. You're like, what is going on here? I don't even know.
Yeah, I do think like
So,
ever since they introduced shorts, like that has
mhm,
changed the whole landscape for subscribers too. Because you'll see channels get a ton of subscribers, um, and it's mainly because of their shorts content. And then they'll start focusing just on shorts, because then those translate even better across all like platforms. And that's kind of the big thing
mhm,
with creating shorts, is what I like about them is I can post it on YouTube, and then I can go over to Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. I've got 4 platforms that
yeah,
I can post the same video to. Where with long format, it's you're kind of stuck in YouTube, and that's it. Like, you
yeah,
can put it other places, but the monetization on like Instagram and Facebook is really
yeah,
kind of garbage.
yeah. And Instagram doesn't really do long form. And then like you, I keep hearing Facebook talking about kind of building out their platform more, but I just don't see it from the perspective of a creator. You know, like
Yeah.
I've listened to Zuckerberg on Rogan a couple of times, and it's like
Mhm.
you would hear the conversation, you would think that they're building out this platform, but it just
Yeah.
doesn't look like that. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I kind of feel like it'd be a little bit too distracting. Where with YouTube, you go there to watch, and that's one thing that I don't really like about the shorts is that they do kind of distract from all the long format content. Because I go to YouTube to watch videos, and then I find myself down
Yeah,
the rabbit hole of watching shorts. I get stuck
yeah,
in that format, and I'm like, I really wanted to watch this 25-minute video by this creator that I follow, but I spent the last 25 minutes scrolling through random shorts because I got hooked in.
yeah. Because you'll see one that grabs your attention, and then it's like you just get locked in. You
Yep.
know,
Yeah.
where I'll do the same thing. It'll be like, oh, I saw somebody's video that I'm subscribed to come up that I wanted to watch, but in my mind, I need to do it later. And then
Yeah.
I go on the computer, and then you're scrolling through like your homepage or whatever and trying to find that video and then they always have like the bar of shorts, and it'll be like one of them that's like, oh, I wonder what that is. Well, it's
Yeah.
only a couple of seconds. I'll watch it real quick. And then it's like, wah, wah, wah.
Yeah.
Like,
30
step
minutes
into the
later.
time machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a trip. So um you did a review on the Hover Air. How'd you feel about that thing?
I I I like that little drone. Like I used the original one, the X1 or whatever it was, and I thought that one was pretty
Mhm.
cool, but it was definitely lacking in a lot of stuff. Like the speed wasn't there and the resolution wasn't there. And then once they announced the Hover Air, I actually pre-ordered it, and then they asked me to make a review like 6 months after I purchased this thing. And so I was like,
Oh
sure, why
yeah.
not make a review on it? So I had been using it for 6 months prior to them actually asking me to make a review for it. And that it is definitely the best technology that's out there right now for that stuff. And they're
Yeah.
definitely leading the industry in it. DJI is nowhere even remotely close to like having the ability of what Hover Air has, which is super surprising. I don't know if you ever watched DC Rainmaker at all. He's a
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
a
I
tech.
watch him too. Yeah.
Yeah, he does that thing where he has a gauntlet, is what he calls it, where he flies them through certain areas, and it was pretty amazing. Like I thought his thought process on it was similar to mine. Like my experience with the DJI drones, like they work really well, but when it comes to detailed tracking at close range, they just fall short. Where the Hover Air, it's just
Yeah.
like that thing will lock on you, but it's not perfect, but it seems like
Yeah.
every software update it gets better. Like
Yeah.
they've got a little ways to go. The beacon isn't quite what they advertised it to be, in my opinion, but it definitely does help and assist with the tracking of it. For me personally, the beacon is useful to see that the drone is still behind me, because sometimes whenever you're flying down a
Yeah.
trail, like you can't necessarily hear it, and then if you don't see it, then you're hosed. I saw the other day you were talking about how you crashed yours and you lost it and you couldn't find it.
Yeah.
And your point that you made where you think the battery popped out, that happened to me. Like it hit
Oh
something,
yeah.
the battery actually popped out. Fortunately, I was able to, like, it was in an area that I could see it. But that is definitely something that they do need to fix, because I bet you there's a lot more people out there that have had that happen. There was a guy who was reviewing it. I felt really bad for him because he bought it. He had a brand new channel and he was talking about how he bought it, and he went out and flew it and was very careful the first couple of times. And then he went on a hike and he went out to this cliff edge and flew it out to do like an orbit around him. And it flew out, came to him, and then flew away, and then started landing outside of the cliff. And so he's like,
Oh shoot.
he basically just lost his drone that he paid, $700 or whatever for. And he's
Yeah.
like, I watched it go to an area that I could not access at all because there was no
Yeah.
way he could get down there. And I'm like, that's a lot of money for somebody to spend and it just like disappear.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
they've
it's
got,
definitely like, I
go
think it's
ahead.
the best option out there, but as you said, it's definitely not it's not perfect.
Yeah.
It's like, and, and it's tough for me to say that, because it really depends on how you're using it. Like I can say, if I'm riding in a totally open area, that thing will get exactly the shot that I want,
Yep.
you know? But
Hmm.
the problem is whenever you're riding on a trail, it's just all these like little things where you like, even that spot where I lost mine, for the most part, it feels like you're on the side of a mountain and there's nothing around you. But here and there's a tree or there's a stick
Right.
sticking out, and it doesn't see that like one
Yeah.
little stick, and it just clips it. And next thing you know, it's like, pshing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so
Yeah. It's,
yeah,
it's,
it's
and what's also weird is like, I will have really good success with it on like one run. And then I'll go back out like a couple weeks later and maybe film in the same area. And it will act totally different. And I don't know if it's
yeah,
like signal locking on is better in certain situations. Like maybe it's actually using the beacon at one point, or maybe
yeah.
the sun glare hit it a certain way. But the one thing that I have found is that on the Pro Max, it's supposed to have that reverse sensor. That thing just 99% of the time doesn't function. Like it,
I can
I'll
tell
run
you pretty much all the sensors on that thing don't function, dude. I mean, it does to a certain extent, but I know when I'm riding, like, oh, there's a huge tree or a bush on the left hand side of this turn, and I'm going to be
Yeah.
coming through that fast. 100%, I know it's going to run into that bush. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like I just stopped beforehand and landed or whatever. But overall, like the shots that you can get with it are just, they're phenomenal, and it's just like really, it's so easy just to take it right out of your pocket and just set it
Yep.
up. And um like even when I'm riding, I've noticed that if I'm not trying to pin it, if I'm just riding at like a casual speed,
Mhm.
it does well. It does
Oh
even
yeah.
on like some pretty tight woods. It's
Yep.
whenever you try to go at like a fun pace, like you're just letting it, like putting the power down, you'll lose
Right.
it, and it just starts getting really wide on the turns, and then that's
Yeah.
whenever it runs into things. Like if you were climbing or doing anything else, like it'll be right there with you, no problem.
Yep. For sure. Yeah. I don't know what they're doing to actually track it. Like if it's actually like capturing you and trying to draw a line like in its software of where it needs to go. But I'm hoping that as they continue to iterate this thing and update it, it seems like once a month they've got a software update for this thing. So that's,
Yeah,
to me, that's the biggest thing in any type of tech. Like if I see software updates come frequently, that means the company hasn't given up on the product and they're just going to
yeah,
continue to try to iterate it. And that gives me more courage that they're going to actually like stick with this and make the next generation even better. So
yeah,
I think that the improvement from the X1 to the Pro Max was drastic, like a big leap in technology. And that was just their first
yeah,
generation to their second. So whatever their third generation is, unless the company just goes completely crazy, I will definitely be looking at that one as something to purchase because
yeah.
it's impressive what they've
I
done
even
with
tell
run.
I even tell people, if you're just a casual person that wants, I have some friends that bought a drone just because they wanted to fly it around for fun, right?
Mhm.
Kind of like an
Yeah.
RC car, almost think of it that
Yep.
way. And I tell them, like, this is the one to buy. Like,
Yeah.
you can fly it around, you can get some drone shots of your neighborhood like that with the remote,
Yeah.
or you can like take it out whenever you're at the lake with your kids, and it'll just follow you around like playing in the water, like
Yeah.
it, there's so much that you can do with it, and the price of it, I think, is it's just really, it's not crazy expensive. I mean, I
Yeah.
think you can get the Pro Max by itself, for like $700. You can get the 4K one with the remote and stuff for probably around the same price or something like that. But one
Yeah.
way or another, it's not like the prices that I paid for my DJIs, like those were
Mhm.
definitely a lot more expensive, but the video quality is better on those, and like the whole, like, I don't worry about losing that thing because I have the remote in my hand that has a direct line to where it is. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But
Yeah. Yeah.
to try to get that thing to follow you, forget about it. It's not. It's
Oh,
worthless.
totally.
You
Yeah.
know?
I've got that Mavic 4 Pro, and it's like that. I've tried to use it to follow me, even like in an open field, and it's supposed to have all these sensors to avoid trees. There's a
Yeah.
giant oak tree in the middle of this field, and it hit the oak. I'm like, there's no other trees, and you hit this giant tree. Like, and I was just like, okay,
Like
this
you
is
didn't see
only
the one.
used for cinematic stuff. So that's where
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
hover air, like that new one, like the cages on it are like almost indestructible. Where the first one,
So
like you could break the cage, but I broke the cage in several spots, and actually Johnny from Mountain Biking Q&A, I actually sent it to him to play around with the original one, and he can look at it. The cage is broken in a few spots, but it still worked. But in the new one, like they send you that piece that you can actually play around with in the box, and I mean, you have to be pretty dang strong to crack that cage on the new one.
yeah. Yeah, I've broken propellers on the new ones, but I haven't broken the cage. I actually got that drone back. One of my subscribers went up there and
Oh,
walked
you
around the side of
did?
that mountain for like a couple hours and found it. So
Oh,
he just
nice.
yeah. So I'm gonna take the cages off and I'm gonna spray paint them like bright orange, because I
Yeah,
think that's part of the problem is that I just, like, where I was looking, it's like it being black is just the wrong color. It's just,
totally.
like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, taking those cages off and doing like a neon color, that's a genius idea
yeah,
because I mean, you lose it in the leaves, it's gone. Like you can't see it unless the
yeah,
light hits it just right. So having a weird color that really stands out, like I don't care what color it is. It'd be cool if they actually just sold cages in different colors. I don't because like mine came with stickers. Did yours come with stickers that you can put on the side of it?
yeah. It did, but I didn't even understand where the stickers are supposed to go, and where they did. Like whenever I think I spent some time trying to figure it out, and then where they did go, it was like, well, I'm not going to be able to see that anyway.
Yeah, yeah, that's
So
what I was thinking too. I was
yeah,
like, well, if they sold like super bright colored cages for it, it would that's just a money maker for them. I don't know why they wouldn't. It
yeah,
just makes sense. And also, I do wish that you had mentioned this on your last podcast too, that they had like maybe like a extra little battery inside that was permanently inside, or that you had to put in like a coin battery, that
yeah,
had like an Apple Find
yeah.
My type style thing. I
That would be great.
that would be really good because then if the battery did pop off, you could still ping it and make it play a sound or something like that.
Yeah, because there's definitely been some times they have a feature on there that'll make it talk whenever it crashes, but it doesn't seem
Mhm.
like it works all the time because it sure
Yeah.
wasn't doing it the other day. But I had it do it once on an accident like a couple of days before that, and where that was crashed at the time, I would have never found it. Like it was
Oh,
like flew into this bush, and the way that it was in there, like behind the leaves, like there's no way I would have found it if it wasn't making that audible,
oh,
and
nice.
like even if I had it painted, I might not have seen, you know what I mean? It was pretty good in there, and
Yeah.
yeah, so we'll see, man. We'll definitely see how it goes, but yeah, it's definitely as far as me using a drone, it's the one that I grab
Yeah.
pretty much all the time, just because I can just put it right in my pocket and roll out, and
Yeah.
there's only
That's
a few times where I know I want like really big cinematic shots that are going to be like from a distance, then I'll grab
how.
the DJI, you
Yeah,
know?
I do wish that they would add some of the stuff that DJI has. So on the Mini 4 Pro, it's got this really cool feature that, for one, you can track objects. But with the Hover Air, it's like you can only track people. I wish that they'd make it to where you
Yeah,
could actually track objects like
like a
cars or
vehicle.
like you could
Yeah,
put it on a bike or a dog or whatever, you know.
yeah,
But the Mini 4 Pro has this like automated track following system that's actually pretty cool. Whenever I get shots of like bike rack stuff, I'll set it to this and it'll just track my vehicle, and it'll do random like movements. So it'll go to the side, and then it'll go out in front of me, and then it'll go behind, and it'll get lower, and it'll do all these different things. So basically I just hit record, hit auto track, and hit this automation thing, and I just start driving, and it gets all these shots, and I don't have to control it at all. And that would be cool
Oh,
if
nice.
Hover Air would do that. So like if you were in an open field and you were riding around and you wanted it to like just get random shots of you riding your bike, it would get all the different angles while you're going. Kind of like I think DJI calls one of their settings a master shot, where it gets just a whole bunch of different things.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish the hover also you could set it to where you want it on those like different spots. So like I wish that I could get it just above me, like it does on the, I think it's called bird's eye, but I want it to follow me just from straight above, you know, or
I actually wanted
like,
that the other day, and I was like, oh, I can't do that. Because you can do that on the DJI, but I like really wanted that the other day whenever I was out riding. I was like, I really want like a 50-foot above me shot where I'm riding my bike down this straight gravel road. Like that's the shot I want, but they don't have that yet. And that's kind of weird. You would think that they would have that already.
Yeah. I feel like they'll get there. Like you said, they keep making updates and stuff like that. So I guess we turned this into a Hover Air commercial. So
that's all right. It's
I
a
saw
cool,
your
cool product.
Yeah, no, it is super rad. It's definitely, to me, like it's well needed, you know, but I don't know. I think it's pretty cool that way. You did this a video about REMTB motors getting too powerful. What would you talk about there?
That's just basically, you know, there's so many, like the DJI motor came out and that one produces, I think it's like, when it originally came out, I want to say it was just a little over 100 Newton meters. And now I think it does all the way up to like 120 Newton meters. Specialized came out with their 2 motors. They'll do just a little bit over 100. And then the S-Works does like 100 and 110, I believe, Newton meters. And then you've got like the Aventon motor, the A100 will do 100 Newton meters. And then Bosch is upgrading their Gen 5 to do 100 Newton meters this July. And it just kind of makes you wonder, like, where's the limit? Like I've ridden Bafang motors that have like 160 Newton meters and they just feel absolutely insane. Like too much power for most trails. And now I'm not sure like where you live, if you have more open trails, long runs, long uphills, things like that, having that higher power could be really easy to manage. But where I'm at, it's like you got a lot of real tight single track, a lot of trees. So I found myself like with a Bafang motor at 160 Newton meters, like I would get going and it would just so much power right off the board that it was just like too much. Like I was trying to manage the bike instead of enjoy riding the bike as much. And I know that like brands like DJI and Specialized, they're going to focus on the quality and how that power is actually delivered. But at what point are we going to get with an e-bike that it's no longer a class 1? I mean, DJI is pushing it by doing 1,000 watts whenever a class 1's only supposed to go up to 750. But if the power is managed properly and it doesn't cause any issues with the trails, then that's probably okay. But at what point, it's kind of like, I was kind of asking the question, at what point does it become a little bit too much power for local mountain bike trails? And
I personally feel like I don't usually ride my bike any higher than the trail mode. And I don't feel like I want more power. I just want my battery to last longer.
Yeah.
So
and that's kind of
like to me, that's what I feel like is more important to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think having more range, but not having to have a massive battery at the same time, figuring out that power management, you know, kind of like how your cell phones, like 5 years ago, couldn't make it through the day doing all the stuff you do, but now they can sip on the power and still give you all the viewing time you want and scrolling time you want, and they'll last pretty much all day. Like if they can figure out that management. And I know like Ben from Top to Bottom, he's on here and he just recently reviewed the new Polygon bike that has kind of like the half power motor. It's the Bosch, I think it's the SX motor, and it's got like 65 Newton meters of torque. And he said that it felt like more than enough power, and something like
Mm-hmm.
that and deliver longer ranges because it's not dumping so much power into it. But it would be nice if you had full power bikes that were like, say, up to 100 Newton meters that could give us 50 miles of range at in turbo mode. That's what I want to see. Like
Yeah.
right now, like a lot of these bikes, like I've got a Superior 9039B, and it's got the Bosch CX motor, and I can get
Mm-hmm.
about 25 miles on that on turbo mode in my local trails. And that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to be able to go 50 miles, because I know if I can go 50 miles on a trail on turbo mode, that I could put that thing down into like eco or trail mode and get like 75 miles and actually do a legitimate, really long ride, or a multi-day ride where I didn't have charging in between. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. I think power is neat, but I also think it's just kind of like, I I think since DJI came out with their motor, the Avinox motor, that other brands feel like they have to compete. And that's what I think Specialized
Yeah.
did. They answered with their S Works and their new one that they put on their Turbo Levo 4, and impressive. Yeah, it's impressive, but it's also like,
That's the one that switches over to class 3.
yeah, yeah. So that's the other
I feel like
controversy.
that's a slippery slope too, man. It's because,
Big
like,
time.
let's be real, 100%. Everybody that buys that bike is just gonna ride in class 3 mode. Like,
Oh, for
like,
sure. For sure. I
yeah,
hit the I hit
like,
the cutoff all the time on my bikes. And I'm like, I just
yeah,
want it to go a little bit faster. And then I know I'll hit that
yeah,
cutoff. I just want just get me to 28. 28 miles an hour is not that fast until you run into somebody who's going 9 miles an hour on an analog bike and you're going
yeah.
almost 30. It's like, I don't know what they justify it, right? But I don't think their justification is
I think
really,
their idea, like the way that they're pitching it, let's just say, is like, oh, you're on the road and you're riding down this road to get to the next trail system. So you
yeah.
can drop it into class 3 mode and now you can go fast. But it's like, legitimately, dude,
Yeah.
you're full of shit if you think that's how people, like,
Yeah.
without a doubt, the way that they did it, like they're sitting around the table, they're like, dude, how can we go faster and get away with this? You know what I mean?
That's exactly, I guarantee you that's what it was. I'm fine with like class 3 motors being on road bikes. Perfectly fine, because
Yeah,
it's the road. Like, you want to keep up with traffic, that's great. Like if you're using them for commuting, that's ideal.
yeah.
But like, man, 30 miles an hour on, like, and some people will say, oh, you go 30 miles, you can go 30 miles an hour down a hill. Yeah, but can you go 30 miles an hour up a hill and somebody's not expecting you like to be going that fast in that section? I don't know.
Yeah.
It to me, the big thing is whether you ride at that speed or not is not a big deal to me overall. It's just a matter of what's it going to do to the industry, right? We already have
Yeah.
federal land where they don't allow e-bikes because they're kind of associated as if like they're motorcycles, because people don't understand the
Dude, we
tech.
already have
People know
federal
it's
land
there.
that won't even allow mountain bikes on it. So I mean,
Right.
it's like, so
Yeah. It's
like,
like,
let alone mountain bikes.
yeah, then you got like trail systems that are super popular. Like, I've never been there, but Pisgah National Forest, like, people
Hmm.
want to ride e-bikes there, but this type of thing, is that really going to push them over the
Yeah.
edge to say, oh yeah, we'll allow e-bikes? But if they're just going to keep getting faster, then they're going to just say no. Like, keeping with
Yeah.
a standard class 1, no more than 750 watts, no more than 20 miles an hour here in the United States with pedal assist, no throttle. Like, I think that's pretty cut and dry. Like, everybody's starting to get used to it in the industry, and people outside the industry, of like, they understand what it is and they see how it doesn't really affect the trails at all. I mean, you got proof
Yeah.
in Bentonville. Like, you go down to Bentonville, they say 50% of the people are on e-bikes. I say it's more like 75% of the people. You go there and it's like e-bikes everywhere. It's insane how
Yeah.
many e-bikes there are. And their trails, I know they put a lot of work into them, but they're not eroding by any means with the number of people that are riding e-bikes on them. But you get into the higher speeds, then you start getting into other risks and things like that. So
I think the one thing that I've noticed from riding an e-bike is that you're definitely going a lot faster in sections of trails that weren't built for you to be going faster.
Yeah.
So like places where you would maybe want to catch berm because you're going faster, let's just say even on a climby kind of section, you know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, because I'm on the e-bike, like I would need a little bit of something to push into there,
Yeah.
and it's not there. So like trails actually aren't even built to be going any faster than the
Right.
class one as it is. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of like the main reason why I wanted an e-bike is for like kind of training for events and like getting used to riding faster in areas that aren't really designed for riding faster. So I could learn how to handle the bike a little bit better. But I couldn't
Mhm.
imagine being a brand new rider, switching it into class 3 and then flying down a trail,
Yeah.
going as fast as that bike would go.
Yeah, I think it's different too. Like the way that different people ride the bikes too also has to do with their level of fitness, you know. So some people might get on a bike and they ride it in turbo because they're really like just not fit, you know,
Right.
and then there's other people like me, maybe I'm riding almost all day long in eco because it's faster for me, and but now instead of doing like a 4,000 foot day, I'm doing a 6,000 foot day. You know
Yep.
what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. You can make it a little bit easier going up the hills, but still get that killer workout in. I've got a buddy who I actually work with who has a Canyon and he's got the biggest battery they offer, like a 900 and some watt hour battery. Like it's massive.
yeah.
And he uses that for everything. That's his one bike. And he actually goes on like 75-mile gravel bike rides with it and puts it in eco mode.
Mhm.
That thing will go the entire distance because the battery's
Yeah.
big enough and he's got it in eco and he
Yeah.
gets a good workout in and he keeps up with his gravel friends. So they're
Yeah.
super versatile.
It's
Like you
great.
could literally have a mountain bike and do gravel bike stuff. If you had an e-mountain bike with a big enough battery, you can do that kind of stuff. So it kind of opens up having the one bike for everything kind of mentality, I guess, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. You think the pinion drivetrain's gonna switch over to e-bikes and take over, or do you think it's kind of pinions are always just gonna be like the redheaded stepchild?
I hope they do. I love pinion stuff. I've got a pinion on electric bike that I've got, and it's not the mid drive with everything in it. It's just the pinion gear system with electronic shifting, and it's such a cool concept. And to have the whole
Yeah.
thing built into one, it's like your drivetrain can have a belt, so it's going to be super quiet. All that stuff is going to be contained, so all you have to do is change the oil, like maybe once a year, and it's just like a very
Yeah.
small amount of oil out of a little tiny port. I think it's a cool technology, and if they keep improving it and keep making it lighter, and more brands adopt
Yeah.
it, that's the thing is they've got to get more brands adopting it. They've kind of got the big benefit of e-bikes for them is they've got companies now making frames. So if
Yeah.
they can make their motor mounts similar to brands that are already out there, then why not? Like if they had the same motor mount style or had an adapter that would fit their motor and their pinion system on like a Bosch style mount, and say YT wanted like had a Bosch setup and they're like, well, we also want to offer a pinion, slap that on there. I think people would go
Yeah.
for the pinion stuff. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's pretty rad. I mean, personally, I think that there's so many benefits, and I think the biggest argument to it before would have been, you know, oh, it's heavier and maybe like the drag of the wheel of the gears and stuff like that. But
Yep.
on an e-bike, that doesn't even matter.
Doesn't
You know what I
matter.
mean? So it's like
Yeah.
get rid of the derailleur, stop screwing around with that, and then
Yep.
like, oh wow, I won't have a chain that has like grease on it either. I'll just have this belt that's like, you
Yeah.
know, like I don't
Last
know.
10,000 miles and never have to worry about
Exactly.
it. It's crazy. Like there's a guy that I follow that does like adventure biking, and he doesn't ride an e-bike, but he rides a pinion bike. And basically he travels all over the country with this thing. And he's like, I've only broke one belt out of like the 7 or 8 years that he's ridden this bike and this brand. And he's like, I would not go anywhere. He goes, I have too many friends that do this type of stuff and they're out in the middle of nowhere and they break a derailleur or snap a cable. He goes, with the pinion stuff, he goes, I've never had an issue with it. It just keeps going.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if, I think there's two ways that it really takes over. I think it's some brands maybe start actually using the pinion, or B, some of these major players, whether it's Bosch or DJI or Shimano, they come out with their own geared system,
Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, I have no insider knowledge, but I feel like that's what SRAM's working on.
Oh,
really?
like,
why did they call their drive system like the transmission? Like, to me, it's like the long-term plan is like to start making people think about this as like a actual transmission, air quotes for those listening, and then it's like, oh, well, then we can make it so that it's an automatic transmission and people are already associating it that way. And then we can just like smack it inside of this motor that we're working on. And now,
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, you got the platform, right? You've got a motor.
Right.
So like just box it all together. And I almost wonder if it's just like they're all probably thinking about this, but like some of the motors just look hideous. Like if you go back and look at some of the old Giant e-bikes and like even the old Turbo Levo e-bikes, like the motors looked huge on these things. And I know some of that's just casing and like protection and stuff of the motor, but if they can get those electric motors really small and then have that extra space that they saved made for transmission, why wouldn't they want to do that? I mean, yeah, they would miss out on sales from things failing and breaking and stuff, but I mean, how often do people really change out their derailleurs? Like most of my bikes, I run them until like they're in the ground, and I very rarely ever have to worry about it.
I mean, most of the bikes that I've owned, I've sold with the derailleur that I put on it when I bought it. You know, like I've broken a handful of them over the years. It's definitely happened, but not like, it's not like a regular occurrence. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh yeah, once a year I always break a derailleur. You know what I mean? Like,
I think the biggest thing for me is like the chain. Like the derailleur is not really the problem. It's like I'll go out and ride and say like the chain gets a little bit wet and I haven't oiled it in a while, and then I'll go out and ride again, and all of a sudden you hear the creaking sound from the chain, and you're like, oh God, this thing's not going to shift well. It's just, and it doesn't act good during that ride. Like eliminating the chain itself is like a bigger deal to me than like the actual derailleur. Like if they can make a derailleur that used a belt, okay, that's fine, but that's just not going to happen. I think that's
to me, I don't like the placement of the derailleur is what it comes down to. If the derailleur was going above the chainstay instead of below it, then I would be less, because out here we have a lot of rocks that we're riding through. Same thing when I'm from Pennsylvania, like a lot of rocks down low. So it's like you're banging your derailleur on shit all the time. You know, and like if you look at my derailleur right now that's on my bike, like it looks like I just drug it on the side of the road, like on the side, because it's just hit so many things.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, why do you want this piece of your drivetrain that's very integral to you moving forward, like hanging down next to these rocks that you're riding through,
Right. And so much so that they actually had to like make it to where the derailleur hanger was independent from the actual frame because they were cracking people's frames in the past. So they had to make the derailleur hanger breakable, not your frame breakable. So it's like, this has been probably the longest running problem in bicycles for, 70 years, that like, that's a vulnerable spot, and the pinion's a perfect answer for it. And now that it's on e-bikes, makes tons of sense.
Yeah, the e-bike part to me is like the real like game changer portion of it, because I could totally understand the arguments before, but with the weight not being an issue and the drag not really being an issue because you're getting all this free power from the motor, it's like, what's the reason now?
Right.
Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just add a little bit more weight and it's down low. So you're getting better center of gravity at that point. Get rid of all of the maintenance issues.
yeah, I mean, if you do that, like, is there a way to change the way that the drive is being applied to the wheel? Like maybe there's some kind of wheel on the backside of the motor that pushes up against your tire and just spins your tire that way instead
Yeah, I
of
wonder if
like
you could do
going all the way back to the hub.
yeah, I wonder if you could, even if you went all the way back to the hub, and I'm sure there's companies out there that have tried this, like put like some sort of like drive shaft inside like the
The swing
chainstay.
arm or something like that. Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
how that'd be with the full suspension. You obviously would have problems with that, but who knows? They're pretty creative out there. I mean, they have high pivot bikes out there, which those things look absolutely bonkers
Yeah.
with pulleys and gears everywhere. So
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure somebody can figure it out, but it makes you wonder, in the next 20 years, how much is the technology really going to change? Because the E portion of it, I think, is for most people, it really just makes a lot of sense. I mean, if the way I've been explaining it to people lately is, if you only ride every once in a while, you're not riding for fitness. You're just riding for fun.
Yep.
And if you're riding for fun, then why go out and like hate yourself up some climb for 40 minutes so that you can do like 15 minutes of downhill, where you could instead like have a great time riding up the hill and then do the downhill freaking 4 times, in the same amount of time that you were doing it before or something like that. And it's like, it just makes more sense. Like if you're a casual rider to ride an e-bike, unless you have like like somebody like me whose kids are out of the house, or you're young and you're single or something like that, and it's like you have the time to go out there and put in the effort to have that level of fitness that it doesn't, then yeah, or like the time doesn't matter to you. It's like, oh, I don't care if I go pedal for 3 hours because I ain't got shit else to do. You know what I mean? So
exactly. Well, I talked to a ton of people with that since I do the budget stuff, that haven't been in biking for years, right? And they're like in their 50s, like 55, almost 60, and getting them on a regular bike is like, they might do it and then they'll go out for a couple of rides. It'll get hot and then it'll get challenging to go 3 miles, and then they will never bring the bike out again. But they get on an e-bike and it's like, oh, well, not every ride has to be, this extreme workout where I'm like sweating like crazy. So I actually mountain bike with a guy who's approaching 70, and I'm like, that's crazy. Like he's keeping up with people that are 20, 30 years younger than him on his mountain bike. And he's openly admitted, like, if I didn't have this bike, I would not be biking with the people that I bike with. So it's definitely an awesome technology.
100%, man. So what are you looking forward to with the channel this year? Like just like the separation that you've had, or?
Yeah, just kind of getting back to my roots on the RunBikeMike stuff with the mountain biking. I've got a couple of different bike reviews that I'm excited about doing, a couple of mountain bike things and some gravel bike stuff, and just kind of having that kind of separation of interests and seeing where that goes. Like my whole thought process is like, I wanted to get this done in the first quarter. I got it done in the first quarter. I want to see what the last 3 quarters look like as far as my analytics goes, and where the channel goes from there. Like I'm not expecting it to skyrocket, but I definitely am hoping that the retention rate or repeat people is a little bit more consistent on each channel. And I'm seeing that on like the Ride Electric Reviews channel. I'm seeing people who are interested in that style of bike because that's the only videos that have been on that channel. RunBikeMike, it's going to take a little bit more time because I have so many videos in the backlog. So it's probably going to take me 4 or 5 months of getting consistent videos of mountain biking and gravel biking on there to get that kind of going the direction that I want.
Yeah.
But it's just a big game, you know, just trying to have fun with it
Yeah.
and see what happens.
What's success look like to you? Like, do you have an idea of that, or?
Yeah, and I honestly feel like I've already got it to the level that I wanted. I'm not a YouTuber that wants to be like in the spotlight. Like I'm not I don't
Right.
want, like, there's some YouTubers that are really good at their personality and that you can tell they are good in the spotlight. Me, I just
Mm-hmm.
like we talked about at the beginning, I like products, I like technology, I like gadgets, and I just want to be able to review some of the coolest stuff that comes out in the bike industry, whether that's analog bikes, whether that's little components that you put on your bike, or whether that's budget e-bikes, seeing where those are going. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that's kind of like where I'm at with my stuff. Like when I originally started, I was like, I want to get monetized. Of course, that's how everybody is. You want to make money from it, right?
Right.
So I had a goal that I was like, I just want to make $50 a month doing this.
Yeah.
That will pay for a set of
It's
tires
easy
whenever
to,
I need tires.
yeah, it's easy to say that you wanted to make that before you realize how much work it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then once I was able to get to that goal, I then set another goal of like, I want to be able to make a vehicle payment if I have a vehicle payment. And I hit that goal and I was happy. You know, anything beyond that
Yeah.
is like cushion, and it just helps. The big thing for me is like, if this isn't, if I'm not able to take whatever money I earn and put it back into my family, then I'm doing it for reasons other than what I should probably be doing it at this point. So
Yeah.
that's kind of like where I'm
Yeah.
at right now. Like I just, you know, I get a whole bunch of stuff sent to me, so I don't need to buy a lot of bike parts. And so I can
Yeah.
just
That's
take
nice.
those funds and like help out my family. And, you know, my kids play volleyball and my youngest plays volleyball. My oldest is in college. And so just being able to
Yeah.
help pay for those type of things, alleviate
Yeah.
the stresses of daily life is kind of like
Yeah. Yeah.
where I'm at with it.
Yeah. Yeah. For a long time, I didn't really know what my goal was, and I think I'm getting closer to being just content with where I'm at,
Yeah.
and it's really easy to judge yourself against your peers, and it's really easy just to see the peers that are uber successful because that's what the algorithm shows you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But
Oh
but
yeah.
you got to remember, it's like I have like 20,000 subscribers on my biker channel, and there's probably 20,000 people that would love to have 20,000 subscribers on their channel,
Big,
and they
big
have
time.
100, or something like that. So it's really hard to like recognize that sometimes. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
that's like a stadium full of people that said that
Yeah.
they like your stuff. Like that's pretty rad.
It's a massive
Yeah.
number of people whenever you start thinking about like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't personally want to get up in front of like 150 people. Like I would be a nervous wreck.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
tens of thousands of people. Like no, there's not a chance I would
Yeah.
want to do that. So yeah, for me
Right.
personally, it's like if I have the same success that I had last year, then I'm ecstatic with that. But if it's not as good as what I had last year in 2024, I'm okay with that too. Because it's like
Yeah.
I'm happy with what I'm doing. It's providing for my family, and I get to play with fun bike products. So
Right on, man. Well, dude, I really appreciate you sitting down and chatting with me, man. We're rolling up on 2 hours here. I always like
yeah,
to ask people at the end of the show, um, what YouTube channels they like to watch, whether it has to do with biking or not.
yeah. So like my number one go-to right now, anytime they pop a video up, is Ambition Strikes. It's this couple that they basically like build things. They've got a house up
Uh-huh.
in the mountains, and they've been building stuff on that house, and they like do all kinds of the guy on there, Riley, he can create anything, and it's just fun to watch them. they seem like genuinely nice people who are just interested in making things that other people are interested in watching. And like
Those
right now,
Ambition, like Ambition
yeah,
Strikes.
Ambition Strikes. They originally started out making like really like rugged campers for the back of like trucks. Kind of like, I don't know, they kind of remind me of like a
overlandy kind of stuff.
Yeah, overlanding. Yeah. But then they moved out into the mountains, and they just build crazy things. Like they bought a barge, and they're going to make it into an Airbnb, and it's like this old Navy barge that they're tearing apart, and he's not afraid to weld anything or cut anything. Or he built a little boat out of storage containers. He like put like 12 storage containers, did the math and calculated how much it would take to float this thing and like how much weight he could put on it. And he made it out of a Harbor Freight trailer. I was like,
oh yeah,
that's creative. So I just,
that
stuff like
fun. I
that.
have to check that one out.
Yeah, it's a neat channel. That when I first started watching them, I was like, I don't know, they're kind of cheesy. But then as I started watching them more, I was like, man, they're so creative. It's so wild how creative they are. And they produce videos every week. That's just like, this creative stuff. It's so cool.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's exactly why I like to ask that question, because I think there's so much good content out there. And, you find yourself logging into Netflix sometimes and you're like, what do I want to watch? And there's nothing on here. And there's like a billion awesome channels out on YouTube that it's just hard to find something that maybe isn't necessarily what you would look for. So, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily look for something like that. It wouldn't be in my algorithm, but when you explained it, I'm like, oh, that sounds actually like really fun to watch. I like those kind of, it's satisfying to see some projects like go from beginning concept to completion. So,
well, what was cool?
Anyways,
like,
man, go ahead.
I was just real quick. What's cool about that is I watched that channel, and then I was randomly talking to my dad, and he's like, oh yeah, I watch that channel too. So it's like,
oh, that's funny.
Or the algorithm, we had no idea.
Right, exactly. Well, thanks again, man, for hanging out with us for the last 2 hours. All of you that are listening, if you haven't checked out his channel, RunBikeMike, go check it out. There's a link in the description, whether you're listening on the podcast or here on YouTube. So appreciate all you guys as well. And if you want something just for free, remember this: it only takes a bike to be a biker. Get out and be one.